Davis, thank you for all the many, many years of smiles, laughter, encouragement, generosity. We have had a wonderful, wonderful marriage. And our beautiful three daughters, who all look just like you, their hair, their eyes, their personality. I'm so thankful they look like you. And now these grandchildren, and they look like you too. Now you're going to owe me one. In 10 years, we'll have another big party when I'm the same age that you are now. Love you.
Hi, Dad. It's Kelly. I just want to wish you a wonderful, wonderful 70th birthday. We've had so much fun over the years, and hope this is a great celebration for you. It's been a burden to be your favorite daughter all these years, but I've carried it, and I just want to let you know that I'm okay. I also I guess there were two things I wanted to talk to you about. The first one is two of my favorite characteristics of you, and that is your honesty and your energy. I think there's no one that would ever say that you are anything but incredibly honest man. And there's probably people that would say there's times that you're too honest, but better to err on that side. The other thing is your energy, and the example of your energy that comes to mind first off to me is we were on vacation up in Angel Fire with the boys, and we woke up, I guess it was about 8:30 or 9 in the morning, and you were up in a tree out the window cutting branches with a chainsaw, and that's kind of what woke us all up. And when we came out, it turns out that you had also just finished staining the jacuzzi and played 9 holes of golf. So that's pretty impressive, for someone, especially someone your age. And finally, while I have this chance here on film, I want to correct a little something. When you describe the personalities of us to your friends and to people, or to people you don't know, you always give the example of the 3 girls, and you say, if I were lost in the woods, Kelly would bitch me out, Christy would get down on her knees and start praying, and Katie would pull out her compass and get us out of the woods. Well, I just want to add that I would probably pull out a GPS and get us out as well, but I would still bitch you out. Happy birthday.
Hi, Dad. I love you so much, and I'm so excited that we're celebrating your birthday. There are many qualities, Dad, that we all love about you, but when I was thinking back on my memories of you, I think one of my most favorite things, Dad, about you is that you truly love people from all walks of life. And you have very, very interesting friends, and you take a part of them into your own life, and you have a way of just a real talent for loving the people around you and for taking the best of each of those people, and they've each kind of become a part of who you are. Whether it's the governor or the mechanic or a struggling musician, you name it. And I love that quality about you, and I hope to emulate that myself. I'm excited to be here with you. We all are. Mom and Kelly and Katie and I love you so much. And all your sons-in-laws and all your grandchildren are delighted to be here right now celebrating with you. And we hope that you have many, many, many more. We love you. Bye.
Father, it's your youngest and your favorite here, Katie Bird. Wanted to let you know how much I love you and how much I wish I was there with you to celebrate your 70th birthday. I was thinking about what I wanted to say today, and I was just really reflecting back on a couple of areas of my life that you've really impacted. 2 in particular. One is that you've always taken really good care of your body, and always, as far as I can remember, just always ran 3 miles a day in and day out, and always really cared about how you took care of yourself. And it really made an impact on me, because now in my life it's critical that I take care of myself, and I really appreciate that you taught us to take care of our bodies, because it's the only one that God's given us, and you taught us that. Father, I also want to thank you for teaching us to appreciate God's beauty in the outdoors, because of course, as all of your friends know, you won't spend money on anything. but one of the few things you would spend money on is land and the outdoors and places that you could take your girls and grandkids to appreciate God's beauty. And we treasure that, and it's something that I'm passing on to my kids, and something that I savor every day where I live, where we live here in Austin and out in the hill country. And we thank you for that, because without the love that you have for the outdoors and for horses and for sunsets and just for the beauty that surrounds us, I'm not sure that would have been passed on to us. And we treasure that, and we thank you for that, and we love you, and we hope that this is the most wonderful birthday ever. I wish I was there with you, and have a wonderful 70th birthday.
Happy birthday, baby.
Say I love you.
I love you, baby.
Oh, and blow him a kiss.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Big. Happy birthday to you. Hi, Big. This is me, Davis, and I would like to say happy birthday, and I love you, but I don't love you because you give me chocolate, and I don't like chocolate. I just love you because you're you. Hi, Big. It's your grandma I'm doing. I think you're special, pretty old. And you know what? And Big, you're not a white cowboy. I'm a white cowboy. Happy birthday, Big. I love Big because he gives me chocolate. I love you, Big. I love you, Big.
I'm Pam Arthur, here to wish Davis a happy birthday. I have worked for Davis since 1985. During the 90s, though, I took off for 10 years, had to rest. I think you're going to see why. Yesterday was a typical day in the office, and I thought I'd share it with you all. The very first thing, at 9 o'clock, Davis makes a quick trip to the bank in Kinko's, then came back to the office and finalized an engineering report with tables, immediately FedExed it out. Then we invoiced all clients for the month and immediately mailed them out. He lost his pen 3 times, found it twice. He resumed telephone and email negotiations on a hot business deal about a ranch, scheduled a golf game for later on, and then all of a sudden our computer couldn't receive emails. Very disrupting to Davis's life, he'll tell you that. And I crawled around on a less than dust-free floor to unplug and replug various wires, which enabled us once again to receive emails, which he then answered, and answered almost as many phone calls. He lost his notes on the sound equipment for this 70th birthday party. Finally found them once in the 4th stack of papers on the left side of his desk, then on top of a stack of boxes, leaning dangerously. There are about 40 such stacks of boxes in his office. He dashed out and delivered to a friend the cowboy book he wrote, stopped along the way to negotiate with Barnes & Nobles, actually maybe fuss at them, as to why they weren't carrying the children's book we wrote, worked on the arrangements for a party he and Gwen are hosting for the A&M Press, scheduled a golf game for later that day, took time to smile at Gwen and notice Ikebana flower arrangement she and I managed to create in the 5 minutes we had to grab a cup of coffee. He gave some marketing advice to one of his daughters, discussed with me a recent meeting with attorneys on an upcoming trial concerning oil pollution, showed me new photos of grandchildren, and y'all, all of this happened in 3 hours. I went home exhausted. He went on to play the 18 holes of golf. So Davis, you may be 70, but you've got the energy of a 30-year-old. And what I was going to do next is show you the birthday present Ken and I are giving you, but I left it at home, and it is the pencil portrait Ken drew of you. We've had framed, and it has a Western flavor to it, representing your West Texas roots and cowboy leanings. So now all I have to do is incorporate your A&M roots. And here's an Aggie joke. How could I not tell one? Of course, the joke doesn't remind me of anyone. An Aggie cowboy went riding, and everything was going fine until the horse suddenly started bouncing, bucking, out of control. The Aggie cowboy tried to hang on, but with a foot caught in the stirrup, he fell off head first. And with his head now bouncing around, the horse didn't even slow down. And just as the Aggie cowboy was about to give up hope and about to pass out, a Kmart employee came out and unplugged the horse. Happy birthday, Davis. It's been fun.
All right, here we are in the office of Clayton Williams. Oh, where is he? Oh, wow. What are you doing down there?
Oh, I just got up from my one-arm push-up routine.
Ah, is that something you do? Do you do that when you're out in dining establishments?
David set the example. I've been following him ever since.
I understand.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here to talk about your dad. Have you got any questions before I give you my delivery?
Well, let's see. Do you tell me a little bit about Davis's life as a cowboy?
Well, I've never seen him as a cowboy. I know he's a want to because he's written about it. I've never seen him horseback. I don't know if he can ride or not. But he's got family heritage. That's why he's trying to be a cowboy.
I see.
Don't guess he ever rode rodeos, rode bulls, ropes. Don't guess. That's about all I don't know too much about his cowboy. I know his teaching is not up to mine, I can tell you that.
Right.
The story of that is, of course, that about the time I was teaching entrepreneurship, which my kids later called bullshit, 489, he was teaching engineering at the University of Texas. And I was with him one day, so Davis, how much you get paid for a 3-hour credit he was teaching? He said, oh, $600 a month. I said, oh, I'm getting $12.50 a month for teaching bullshit at A&M. That means that bullshit taught at A&M is exactly double the value of engineering at UT. So anyhow, that's pretty good. What about the family? Anything that we need to talk?
Well, tell me a little bit about what Davis says about his grandkids. I understand that he doesn't involve Mom much when he talks about just the genetic traits that have been passed on. And has he said anything to you about the grandkids? And
yeah, but that's a sad thing because he says most of them look like him, and I wouldn't have told anybody that.
All right, why don't you tell us a little bit about Davis and your relationship with him?
Well, there's something Davis doesn't even know. They were finishing raising more money for the A&M Center, and the taxi cab driver told me that Davis and the guy had ridden with him. They were going to ask me for more money and call it the great, going to name the hall for somebody. So I thought, well, since I already know when he approached me, that said, no, Great Hall's no good name, just leave it like it is. He doesn't know till this deal that I was why that taxi cab driver told me what he was thinking ahead of time. Got fucked. Well, the thing about Davis, that he always means well, but he goes around with a target. He's always giving you an opening to spear him. And I don't want to spear him too much because it's what is it, 80th birthday, I guess? Something like that. But anyhow, I just hate to spear him all the time. He's such a good sport, and he does leave himself open. We had quite a bit of fun in the book. One day he was going to hit up all our board members for a 10,000 contribution each, which was great of him to do, and they all got upset. And then I was chewing him out on something in the oil bin, and he left here with his tail between his legs and said, maybe I'm not too good at politics. I said, you're probably better than me.
Okay.
Is it my turn again?
It's your turn again.
Well, just a moment of seriousness. Davis is one of the very finest men I've met in my life. And I say that because, as you know, he's been an outstanding father and a husband. He's been a loyal and hard-working Aggie. He's very professional in his business. He represents the conservative side of the business spectrum. He has a reputation for being straightforward and honest, and I'm privileged to have him on my board, and I'm more privileged to call him a friend. I hate not picking on him, but I've done it so much, so long, I think I need to tell him the truth for once, and happy birthday, Ford. It's the only problem. I'm always glad to have you at deer camp, but we do have request by the professional singers at next camp, would you please not sing?
Yeah, tell us about Dad at deer camp. Is he a
Well,
pretty
at
good
deer
shot,
camp,
or do you?
He sits around and, well, he's enjoyed deer camp a lot. That's where he started thinking I should write a book. So if the book is real bad, it's going to be Davis's fault because he worked real hard on it. And but at deer camp, we did have a request from the musicians that would Mr. Ford please not sing next year.
I see.
That's another way to come at it. I don't think he's a bad singer, but that's a good goose. The worst thing he does at deer camp, he loads the whole car up with son-in-laws and friends and brings them out.
That's exactly what I was hoping you'd say.
In fact, of course, I've enjoyed them and they're good kids. Well, it works real well when I need lots of tags, but they're all good shots too. That's probably not.
Is Dad a pretty good shot, or do you have to put him right on top of something?
I've not seen him shooting a lot. I think he's a good shot. I don't remember him shooting something dumb, or I remember.
Yeah.
I think he shot well. And what did they have? Oh, well, this will insert the A&M stuff. Of course, one of the real strong traits that Davis has is his friendship and regard for Porter Garner.
Okay. You can leave that there. That's great. Okay. That'll be on the personal homebound copy
Yeah,
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's often told us that he wishes we'd marry somebody just like Porter. Let's see. Does he? I'm just trying to think. There's so many funny things. You know, does he usually bring a Suburban or something like that out to deer camp? Have you ever seen?
Oh yeah, he brings it full of son-in-laws.
Okay. Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah. Tell us about was it the first time you met Dad was when he came in and asked you for the money for the former students building?
I met him after I'd agreed to give the money in some of the work, in designing the building. He did an excellent job on the building.
Yeah,
and
that was
really
fun
took
for
it
him.
took the bit in his teeth and went on with it.
All right. Well, if you think of anything else, let me know. Modesta, you want to jump in here?
I'm not good at talking off the cuff like that. I'll just say happy birthday.
Well, she's
Love
good at
you,
it if she's
okay.
making fun at me.
I can do that. Yeah, I can stab you once or twice or whatever like that.
One time I was misbehaving at the bar. She came in and we got to arguing. She gave me a right cross, knocked my tooth out. But then I had it replaced with a T-A-N-M. Let the truth interfere with a good story.
Well, that was my right cross. The only thing that I did wrong was I didn't give him the left cross
Well, she
also.
in fact, she whipped up on me and some waitress followed us out and said, "Grandma, help, some woman's beating up her husband."
Only for a good reason. Yeah.
I did it.
Yeah, you did.
I admit it.
Oh. Okay. All I've got to, not going to be there at the wonderful party, but my thoughts and my love go to you on your 70th birthday. And
80th.
oh, excuse me, the 80th?
That'd be good to have
I
that
missed
back
that. And our families have had so much fun together and raising our girls. Those girls turned us white-headed. But hope this is a fabulous 70th birthday and that you have 70 more. We love you.
And just, you got to say that.
That's better than all my bullshit put together.
Why did you call it his 80th?
Well, he looks 80. I assume that's what he was.
Okay, wait. Okay, Modesta, tell me about the first time you met Dad.
All right, the first time I ever met him, of course, he is a very handsome man, and he came up to me and he looked over at Clayton and kind of nodded at him. He said, "If you get tired of that old son of a gun, well, you just come and you can be with a real man." And I went, "Dude, what? You are absolutely the most egotistical man I've ever known in my life."
Really?
Happy birthday, Davis Ford, a great friend since 1957. This is Ed Shoimoshi. When you first met me, you were first sergeant of A Ordnance, and I was a humble sophomore coming in to learn how to be a cadet under your outstanding leadership, which might remind you of a question that your mother had one day when she asked me what my first impression was of her son, Davis Ford. And I remember specifically telling her that it was a remembrance of a caring leader. And to this day, as a friend, and I think that one word would sum up our relationship, friend, has been a constant. I've really enjoyed being with you, your family, seeing that you were a great father, now a great grandfather, a great husband, author, famous engineer, businessman, and come lately, of course, a famous cowboy. Talking about cowboys, it reminds me of our visit to a real famous cowboy, the last cowboy, Leroy Webb. We were on the way, I think, back to Albuquerque and stopped over in Santa Fe when you finally had the opportunity to give me one of the more famous orders that you never had a chance to delegate at A&M. We were packed up and ready to go, and I remember a stack of suitcases standing by the bus, and somebody was yelling at me, "Ed, get all the bags, you're the bag man." And this kind of a private joke between the two of us from being lieutenants to generals on how we managed to, in the end, after all, to have to serve Davis Ford even 50 years later. But that comes back to another great story when we went to Hungary, when you wanted to visit our home and had the great opportunity to spend a few days together, where I was a youngster before coming to America. After having toured Budapest and our home by Nagylós, very close to the Austrian border, it was time to plan a dinner. And I remember you had heard a gypsy violinist that you wanted to make a contract with to come and play at the dinner, and went to negotiate with him on whether or not he could perform. And he said, "Oh yes, willingly," and he set the price and you agreed. And this reminds me of you being the great negotiator. About 5 minutes later, he came by and he said, "Well, you know, he can come, but his brother has to come also because his brother will not be playing that night and he would like to be along and the price will be the same." And you said, "Fine." And then about 3 minutes later, he came and said, "Well, the brother's sister has to come also because, the brother's wife has to come also because she won't be doing anything and she wouldn't want to be staying at home and the price will be the same." And you agreed. And we went on, and about the day before the dinner, the violinist called up and he said, "Well, there are two more in the concert band that need to come along because they'll be unemployed that night. And for a very slight fee, over the basic price, he would like to bring them along too." And I think the two of you negotiated and settled at some price that was agreeable. And after the evening's performance, which was actually really outstanding, and you were very pleased and proper, etc., and so forth, pleased with it, I think you sent him the money order or gave him a check or paid him in forints, and everybody was very happy and had a great evening together. A couple of years later, we were in Houston, and a gypsy band came to a Hungarian-American celebration while I was still honorary consul. And the gypsy comes up to me and he says, "Hey," he says, "do you know a Dr. Ford that is somewhere here in Texas?" And I said, "Of course." Well, he said, "Do you remember we were the ones who played for his dinner in Budapest? And he still owes me a whole bunch of money that he never paid me." So we have you on the wanted list on every post office in Hungary because of this gypsy band who's still looking for its extra forints. I thought you might get a kick out of that, even though that you might now be a 70-year-old man. Awesome. Well, Davis, all of that having been said, on behalf of my whole family, Ellen and I, Ed Jr., Stephen, and Philip, and their wives, we all wish you a most joyous and happy birthday. as this celebration today is probably a highlight of your birthdays. We hope that you'll have many, many more. And one word of advice, don't change. Just stay yourself, ride on the trail carefully, and we'll be riding together, hopefully, quite a few more times. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Davis.
Happy birthday, Davis. Wow. What an incredible event. How wonderful for all of us to be here to celebrate your birthday with all your family and your friends, everybody that loves you and cherishes you and just knows what a special person you are in our hearts. You're passionate about life and all of us, and you do so many wonderful things. I just want to know, where do you get all this energy? I've asked Gwen, I've asked the girls, and they just kind of shake their head. You can do as much work as 8 people in one day. When you have an idea, it's like a train can't even stop you. You just kind of charge through, the waters part, and you make things happen. You do the unthinkable. When people are just kind of thinking about it, you're doing it. And it's been amazing to watch the process. We've experienced together with our families over 34 years. Wow. Where's all the time gone? We've watched our babies grow up. We've gone fishing in Alaska. We had a travel agency together. Just so many things. Middle Creek, of course, all the great memories in Middle Creek. And chasing horses to find the right light with your favorite cowboy. Anyway, Davis, it's just so many incredible memories. You're awesome. Don't ever change. We're better because of you, having you in our lives. And I just can't think of a better friend. And I think everybody here would say that. You've just enriched all of us. And it's just like a rainbow of color. So God bless you, and just thank you for being you.
Davis Ford, my gosh. You may have written a great book about the last cowboy, but I really am not sure deep inside if you really think that's true, because you might really think that you're the last cowboy. And what I like to bring up about you still trying to be a cowboy was that summer afternoon where you'd bought a couple of 2 or 3 horses and you showed Ronnie and I out at Middle Creek this horse that you had purchased that you really didn't have to use any reins at all. You could just shift your weight around the saddle, and that horse knew what to do. And the main thing was you could be riding him at a pretty good lope, shift your weight, the horse would automatically stop, and you would just dismount, not using any reins at all. And if you'll remember, you took off around that big field there at Middle Creek Ranch, got in a good lope, came roaring up, Ronnie and I, shifted your weight, and the horse did stop just perfectly, and you dismounted, but unfortunately it was right over the horse's head and neck and landed right on the ground right in front of Ronnie and I. We were a little embarrassed, but we didn't say much. You immediately got up, dusted yourself off, and made another loop around that field. Came in, shifted your weight, and once again right down on your butt and your chin and laying in the dust. And at that time, Ronnie and I kind of giggled a little bit among ourselves, and you took off the 3rd time, made the big loop, came around, same dismount, same dust bin that you kicked up there, and embarrassed, got up. Ronnie and I, this time, were just laughing our tail off, and you looked at us and glared at us and said some words that are not appropriate for young children to hear as you stomped off. But anyway, what a great time that we have all had as a family. And even though that horse riding incident had you on your back 3 out of 3 times, we know what a good rider you are. But through the years, our families have gone through the crises and the joys, and we've had a great time. You've been a great father. You're a talented writer, you're a hell of an engineer, and I'm glad to know that I can call you a good friend because you've been there through thick and thin, and Ruthie and I really have enjoyed knowing you and the Ford family. I've also enjoyed getting credit for maybe being the father of all those three good-looking girls. So anyway, good luck, happy birthday. We're glad to be here. Thank you. That work?
That's great.
Okay.
Okay, so now, if I asked you, tell me what Davis says about his grandkids.
But it's what?
His grandkids.
Well, first of all, they all look like him, and they're all just almost as smart as he is.
Do they all have his color eyes?
They've got everything. Now, Gwen's not even involved in this mixture at all. And also, since all of y'all are girls, you know, your dad is thinks he's pretty popular with all the other women, and there's nobody better looking than Davis Ford as far as the girls are concerned.
Absolutely, absolutely. What about his career as an engineer? Would you say that he's been successful?
He's been very successful, and damn, he's fooled a lot of people for a long time, consistently.
What happened to my valet? Did he escape from Berlin and go to New Mexico? Is he trying to be the last cowboy? Several years ago, I know that he and another fellow Aggie country boy were hobnobbing with a senator and a Hungarian aristocrat in Hungary. And you know, they've always been lucky about those things. Some of their greatest luck was marrying two Brazos County beauties. Davis, you and your friend Wayne have always ridden high in the saddle, and he would have loved this great roundup. Davis, you and Gwen have been such wonderful friends. You have been there with us through the joyous and happy times, through the sad and difficult times. You've always been there. Thank you. I hope you have many, that God blesses you with many more happy birthdays, Davis. Happy trails, great friend.
Birthday, Davis, to one of my favorite people. We wish you many, many more happy birthdays. You've been such a dear friend to our family, and we so appreciate it. You're like a father to me, and being with you is just like being with Dad. Y'all are just both two peas in a pod. We have just had so much fun, and I look forward to so many, many more happy times together at Middle Creek Ranch and wherever else life takes us. And Gwen, we love you. I just feel like you're just my best friend. You're just wonderful, and all the girls and their husbands and children, and we feel very blessed. Happy birthday.
Well, first of all, Davis, I really want to congratulate you on the 70th birthday, and you've had some tremendous accomplishments in your life. None the least, a distinguished alumni of both Texas A&M and the University of Texas. And what had to be one of your highlights is when you were president of the Former Students Association, and particularly at the time when the Former Students Association was building their building, and you being responsible for all that. That had to be a highlight, really, of an Aggie. And, you know, speaking of Aggies, I certainly realized when I married into this family that you were the class of '59, and again, I was from the vastly superior class of '63. But I didn't realize that this would just go on and on and on. It sort of culminated the other day when Gwen and you and Clarice and I were on our way to Middle Creek, and you rolled down the window, and we were going about 65 miles an hour, and you know, you spit out the window. But you know, I would think, being an engineer, that you would realize that I was sitting directly behind you and literally got covered with your spit. So I would really just like to appeal to you that in the future, if I'm behind you, would you please not roll down the window? Anyway, all kidding aside, I really am so proud of you, and Clarice and I are you know, whatever part that you played in the production and development of the three girls, we love them, and they're outstanding, and we love their whole families. And again, I realize that you probably played a little part, and you can take that any way you want to, but we're grateful to you and are very, very proud of you, and especially on this special day.
At Davis, when Davis and Gwen were engaged, when Gwen was still in college, and that goes back a long, long time. The next time our paths crossed were when Fred and I got engaged, and Davis decided he approved, which made me really happy. Then fast forward our lives to now, and we are so blessed to be part of this wonderful family and the three wonderful girls that they've raised in their family. And I will always be very, very grateful to Davis that he's shared and let us be a part of their lives all of these years. One quick memory is the day that we got married, we got a telegraph from Davis, and he said, "Dear Fred and Clarice, the Andrews have something to really worry about tonight because both of their daughters are sleeping with Aggies. And we hope you have a wonderful life together." And I saved that telegram all of these years. That was back in the olden days when they actually had telegrams that were delivered. And I just want to say, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful 70th birthday and many, many more happy years to come.
I'm delighted to introduce Clarice Loom, who was Clarice Andrews, my mom's, quote, twin sister and best friend, and I'm delighted that she is here in Austin, living close to Gwen and Davis now, and has so enjoyed their close friendship down the street.
Another really quick story. Last night, Gwen and Davis and Fred and I went out for a 70th birthday dinner at Texas Landon Cattle Company. When we entered the front door, Davis immediately started hitting on the young lady that was at the front door and asked her, "Do you know how old I am today?" And she said, "Well, no sir, I don't." He said, "Well, watch me. I can do one-handed push-ups," where he immediately dropped it to the floor and did one-handed push-ups in front of everybody standing in line. She was duly impressed. Then when we got to the table and had just ordered dinner, he started asking if he could get free cake for dessert. Gwen was mortified, but all the waitresses just laughed. And sure enough, they brought him a cake with one candle, and they all sang a very happy birthday to him, which delighted him.
Davis, Kathy and I want to wish you a very happy 70th birthday to a long-time friend. You notice I said long time, not old friend. But anyway, we do wish you a very happy birthday. Over the last 30-plus years, we've shared many great memories, many great times with you and Gwen and your family. We've shared many of these adventures, including travel. Of course, one of our first travel adventures about 20 years ago could have easily been our last. We were at Middle Creek about 20 years ago, and you were toasting Gwen on your anniversary, and you said, "Gwen, I will take you anywhere you want on a cruise." Of course, in your mind, you thought in the next 10 to 20 years, we'll go on a cruise anywhere you want. But Kathy called you within a couple of days and said, "Davis, let's get this cruise booked." You said, "Well, I did commit to that." So you did follow through. We went on a wonderful cruise to the Mediterranean. You said it was way out of your budget, but you smiled, went through with it. We had a great time. In addition to our travels, we've shared many other great times together. We've had many social events, dinners. We've had many golf games. Now, don't put golf in the social category because some of our golf games are not really social. In addition to that, we've hunted together, including many pheasant hunts at Hereford. We've had Churchill dinners together. We've also shared many other dinners. We've had political events together. We've had our professional engineering associations together. So many great times over the 30-plus years. Here's wishing you a very happy birthday from Kathy and I. And may we have many more memories. I have many stories I could recount for all of these 30 years, but I'll reserve those for our future dinners, golf course, and around the campfire. Happy birthday to a great friend and a great cowboy.
Growing up with Davis in the Ford household was fun. Davis always makes things fun. But we didn't see much of him. He was usually out with the boys, or later on probably the girls. But one thing caught my attention about him early on that made an impression on me, and that is that he was the favorite grandchild of our grandmother Davis, my mother's mother. I don't know how she figured out that he was the one to like best, but she was a very good judge of character. I thought Davis wasn't paying attention much to the family in those days, but then when one of Mother's books came out, Shakespeare and Friends, I found a poem by Davis at the age of 10 that shows he was more observant of our mother and her interests than the rest of us were. My mother. My mother is a noble one, always full of joy and fun, just works and plays from day to day, always smiles in her noble way, has a figure straight and tall, always kind and good to all. She is loved by many a folk, always full of many a joke. She is good and kind to me, and a good one I will try to be. To her it has been her lifelong dream to travel abroad and see beautiful scenes, to Europe, the great wonderland, where the hand of Mother Nature can be seen. Bravo, Davis, bravo. And of course, in recent years, I've come to know Davis's writing better. He's a very good writer, and we've had so much fun together, especially in the last dozen years or so. We're different. Davis prefers horses. I prefer cattle. But he's a wonderful friend as well as a brother, and I am happy to wish you, Davis, a happy birthday.
Here we are in the office of Dr. Dave Haney, and I understand that Davis Ford is a member of your flock.
Yes. I came to Riverbend almost 2 years ago and was amazed at the people I was meeting and just the depth of character that I found. And then I met Davis, and I began to question whether or not I really could get through to someone like that. And I talked to his family, and they encouraged me. They said he's always been that way. It's nothing to be afraid of. And I, you know, I still don't know if I'm really getting through to him, but I figure 8 or 10 years, and maybe I'll have some confidence in that. It's tough. It's really hard. I mean, we have a lot of people in recovery, people, you know, going through life trauma, but Davis is really the one who, because he thinks he's a cowboy who plays golf, and we tell him those two things don't go together unless you play polo, but those, so he's just confused in general, really.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm a global investigator into the legacy and hereditary allegations tendered by various individuals and families. I work for the National Security Agency, the most secret organization in the United States government. My name and identity are confidential due to the dangerous situations I put myself in. Today, and due to this historic gathering, I am presenting my final investigative report on one Davis Lee Ford, referred to by his older associates as DL. DL has tendered information inferring the conclusion that he either is or is associated with the legacy of the last cowboy. I'm here today to refute or confirm these claims with the conclusions of my investigation. Based on hearsay and comprehensive forward history, D.L. was born and grew up in the panhandle of Texas. But what has not been disclosed is a hidden and dark secret that he may have been sired by a donkey, which are usually sterile, mating with a cow buffalo during a lightning storm. During the storm, and just before the act with the female buffalo, the donkey was struck by a huge bolt of lightning. According to an elderly Native American witch doctor, the lightning apparently temporarily alters the DNA of the donkey so that he is not only rendered fertile, but the electrolytic biochemistry spurred the buffalo to produce a human. Even with this phenomenon, the result is still a jackass, and D.L. was often referred to as a jackass by his schoolmates. What is fact is that Davis was taken in by the wonderful and generous Ford family, even though his ears were insanely big, donkey syndrome. As D.L. grew up, his childhood dream was to be a real, live, heroic cowboy, maybe even the last great cowboy. Alas, not to be. My research shows that D.L. never learned to ride, rope, brand, cut, or cook coffee over an open fire. In fact, he was a failure at cowboy. At age 18, he accepted his fate, bade farewell to the wishful great cowboy dream. He decided to become a civil engineer, and the only school that would accept him was the Aggies. Alas, he failed at that too. His engineering endeavors over the next 10 years failed. Approximately 7,200 people were dead or injured from his engineering projects, and his engineering license was revoked at age 46. The only thing that kept him from prison was the intervention of two wonderful and generous friends, Carl Adams and Wes Eckenfelder in Nashville, who covered for him and wrote most of his engineering reports. At age 55, Davis retired, very distraught and appearing penniless to the public. Actually, he had secretly accumulated a fund of $500,000 for a modest retirement. Because he wanted to retain these funds for himself, he had to marry his 3 daughters off to bright, successful businessmen, because he apparently couldn't provide for them. At age 58, he was out braying in Mickey Gillies and was thrown from a female cow, mechanical cow. He landed on his head, which saved him, and had a miraculous vision to establish the cowboy legacy. He began to fantasize that his heirs had to have been famous cowboys, thus making him a hereditary legend. Well, D.L. was an amateur, knowledgeable guy in DNA tracking. He actually had a small DNA lab in his garage, and he often studied on chipmunks, porcupines, and so forth. He thought he could put this work for him to track his own legacy. Being a fan of the Riders in the Sky, he was familiar with the reincarnation jingle, where a man, think real cowboy here, dies, is buried, turns to dirt, dirt grows grass, grass feeds a cow, cow generates cow shit. Thus, the cowboy becomes cow shit. Davis figured he could actually operate backwards with the DNA matched to his own and find out where his legacy was and where his ancestors really were. Starting with his own blood sample, or whatever sample he chose to pick, for the DNA genetic code, which was only unique to him, he pursued the following protocol to locate an error. He ID'd his own personal DNA code. He then monitored all cow shit samples in selected areas within a 100-mile radius of his home. He got 42 DNA cow shit matches, or as we call them, hits. He traced these 42 cow shit hits to a special grass species within a 100-mile radius. He got 10 DNA matches on that. He traced the 10 grass species to 23 burials in various pastures, prairies, graveyards, fields, and forests in that area. Over the next 2 years, he actually exhumed these graves and took DNA samples from the eye sockets of the remains in the grave. He got 1 DNA match. This grave turned out to be one Gabriel Giringeli, and thus, based on tombstone and other history, Davis determined that old Gabe was his great-grandfather, and he lived from 1793 to 1865. So much for the donkey inference. Papa Gabe, as he was known, was an Italian immigrant. Actually, 1816 he came here, who developed a chain of pizza outlets in the Texas Panhandle. There's still no cowboy evidence here, by the way. According to DL's Google search and old historic records in Salt Lake City, the Mormon Library, it turned out that Papa Gabe had a son named Giglio, who would have been DL's grandfather, assuming the donkey legacy was false. He lived from 1814 to 1883. One day at age 14, Gigolo was ordered by his dad, old Gabe, to locate some beef for pizzas. Beef was in short supply at that time, and Gigolo hated beef, by the way, so he stumbled on a pasture of old plow horses. He had them butchered, chopped up into small meat so it was indistinguishable from beef, and took it to his father. Well, it didn't take long for the people in the Panhandle to figure out they'd been hoodwinked, and they were eating horse meat instead of beef on their pizzas. Gigolo became known as a horse eater, and he was nicknamed the Cow-Hater Boy. This name eventually was shortened to the term cowboy, meaning a derogatory slur at refusing to eat beef. But practically all historical documentation from this area refers to Gigolo Garanghelli, DL's grandfather, as the first cowboy around 1826 vintage. Somehow DL Davis took this nickname to legitimize his hereditary claim to a cowboy title. Well, my investigation concludes that DL refined these hearsay tidbits into the fact that if Giglio was the first cowboy, then he, DL, could claim heirs rights to the last cowboy. But he still was not able to ride, rope, brand, cut, and make coffee over an open fire. So DL pondered how to manipulate this quirk of cowboy nicknaming into a legitimate cowboy legend for himself. The fact still existed that he couldn't do the cowboy arts. During his investigation, he discovered that he had a twin brother, Fabio, living in Palermo, Sicily. Fabio was a great athlete, a great horseman, and hunted down vagrants of the mafia who had gotten out of favor with the local don. So Fabio was a great hunter, a great rider, and a great athlete, and he knew how to cook coffee over an open fire. He actually had all the traits that Davis Ford never had. Davis convinced his brother to come to the United States, told him his sad story of lifetime favors, and told him he had a catch of $500,000 that could be used if Fabio would play a role he had envisioned. Fabio said, "I'll do anything to help my brother." Davis dedicated this fund to resurrecting the last cowboy legend. A plan was initiated to place Fabio in the revered position of the last cowboy. 12 years later, after extensive plastic surgeries to disguise his facial features from Davis's, and tedious lessons in the cowboy arts, riding, roping, shooting, hunting, branding, and cutting, it was time for DL to declare to the world that he had indeed developed the legacy of the last cowboy, deciphered in his bloodline. But how to announce it? That was the question. It needed to have legitimacy and credibility. Solved. Davis Ford would write a book. It would be entitled The Last Cowboy, and he would legally change his brother's name to Leroy Webb, a nice, firm American cowboy name. In this way, DL now lives the legacy and fantasy of the last cowboy through his brother Fabio, or Leroy, or whoever. This way, I have to legitimize his claim and say Davis is related to the last cowboy and the legacy is intact. Thank you for listening.
All right, here we are at Westlake Auto Care with our friends Archie and Travis. Now, how do you guys know Davis Ford?
He's our fishing buddy.
He's your fishing buddy, all right.
And
we work on his golf cart all the time.
Tell me about that. I don't understand.
Well, Davis come in one day with his car, and the service engine light was on. And the reason why it was on is because Davis, when he put his golf bag in the back, he hit a little button.
It knocks the switch off. It makes the suspension go down too.
Yeah.
Is that why it's kind of low?
That's why it's kind of low sometimes. It looks like a low rider.
But it's because of all the golf clubs he have in the back of it.
Has he got a lot of golf clubs?
Oh, yeah.
He probably needs them. Now, you guys just finished fixing his truck again. What happened that time?
Well, he decided, I think he was going to play cowboy.
He's going to play cowboy?
He was going to play cowboy, and I think he pulled the wrong thing, and I think he kind of got the transmission in a little trouble.
I see.
Yeah, he's one of the last original cowboys.
Is he one of them?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We're down here at Town Lake on a beautiful morning. A lot of people going for a run, and since Davis Ford has been in Austin for a long time, we thought we'd just randomly ask some people if they knew of Davis and kind of, you know, what he does and or what he's known for. Excuse me, sir. Do you know Davis Ford?
Yeah, I think he's a famous cowboy or something, isn't he? If I remember correctly. I've heard that name on the rodeo.
Yeah, Davis Ford. Yeah, I was at a driving range and he was there, gave me some golfing lessons. I think he's like a semi-pro golfer or something.
Cowboy and a golfer. Wow.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. Multi-talent.
That night when I was up late at home, I saw him on a fitness show.
Really?
Yeah.
He was a pretty fit guy. That must have been
makes for the cowboy.
Yeah. Heck of a golfer.
Cowboy. Fit.
Home of Captain Richard Krug from Southwest Airlines. Captain Krug, excuse me, do you know Davis Ford?
Yeah, I know Davis Ford. Well, he was honored in the December Spirit magazine. I remember looking at this and, God, what a handsome guy. And now I know why Kelly's so handsome. God, what a great guy. You know, whenever he's on the flight, he's polite. People just love him. And it's an honor to have a person like this, you know, paying my salary and such dedication. What a great man.
Do most employees look forward to seeing him on a flight?
Oh, absolutely. You know, he's so sweet, generous with his time, such a loving man.
Could I see the picture here? Let me see. You keep that with you, I guess, most of the time?
I carry it in my Porsche here all the time. It's kind of a good luck piece, hoping that I can look like that when I'm 70.
I understand. Sir, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Davis. I'm very happy for you. You've got a great family. You're a beautiful man.
Okay, cut.
Is that off now?
It's off.
You know, how well do you know your dad? Do you? I don't know how to say this. I've had him on several of my flights. Kelly, I got to be straight with you. I've known you for a while now, but do you know that he has a penthouse in Las Vegas? It's called the Ford Lair. And this is the thing that's really amazing. You know, Southwest Airlines loves these people that show up all the time. We're going to put up with guys like this. You know, he hands out keys to this penthouse to all the flight attendants going in and out of Las Vegas. And it just, you know, well, for one thing, it really pisses me off. He's so damn handsome, and I'm the captain, not him. One time, I was having an emergency, and it was a medical emergency, and I kept ringing the flight attendants, and I couldn't get a hold of them. I had the MedLink on. I was talking to a doctor, and I couldn't get the flight attendants to get on the phone. So I went out of the cockpit, went back there, and there's a woman choking on a damn peanut in the first row. 4 rows back, there's 3 flight attendants sitting on this guy's lap. I couldn't believe it. They were kissing him. There was lipstick on his collar and his head. I don't know. I don't know what to say. So I hope you know this guy, your dad, man. I'm feeling really terrible about this. I'm sorry I had to break this to you.
Didn't you say sometime he gets on the plane with the stack of those articles?
Tons. You know, I think he flew 3 separate airplanes on the same day, and there was 137 customers on each of the aircraft, and everyone walked off with one of these. How do you think I got one of these?